Hi, thank you everybody for coming tonight. My name is Monica Medeiros. I am an alderman at large here in the city of Melrose. I'm also a candidate for state senate, and I want to thank all of you for coming tonight for a water conservation presentation. And I really do appreciate this, you all being here. Of course, we are videotaping tonight so that we can share this presentation along, hopefully, through cable access as well, for anybody who might not be able to be here tonight. I want to also acknowledge that I am here tonight with one of my colleagues from the Board of Aldermen, Alderman Boiselle from Ward 4. Thank you. So I decided to put on this presentation because as an alderman, one of the concerns that I hear most about are the high cost of our water and sewer rates. And I know, especially for our senior citizens and our people with large families in particular, that the increasing costs have been really burdening them and been a little bit overwhelming for some folks. So I've tried as an alderman to do what I can in order to try and keep the rates low. I will talk a little bit shortly about how our budget is put together. But in particular, one of the things that's changed a lot in the last year, and I think has raised a lot of questions, that we've changed our billing structure. Last year, in the middle of June or so, just before the fiscal year was about to start, the new fiscal year, it was presented to us a new form of billing. It was called a tiered rate structure, where previously we had one flat rate for residential and one flat rate for commercial. And this new system is a tiered rate billing system. That's kind of oversimplifying the differences. There are some additional differences. This came to us, I thought, rather late in the year. I had some concerns about how it was going to affect the people that are the ratepayers. I wasn't sure how it was going to affect people in condominiums, because now what happens with the new system, it's meant to encourage conservation. But once you go up over a certain threshold, your bills will, the amount you pay per cubic, or per billing unit increases. And if you use more and you get to the third highest level, what you pay increases even more than that. So what this means is when you have people who are on a shared meter, like a condominium, where there's multiple units, the amount that they're using per quarter is sometimes going up, oftentimes past the first tier and sometimes up past the third tier. I had some concerns about how that was going to work. Something new about this system is that it adds a base charge that you pay per quarter, even if you don't use any water. And where previously, if you didn't use water, you wouldn't pay anything. That does allow for some consistency in billing, and it does make the rate a little bit lower for what you use, because we're bringing in some funds through the base charge. There are various things about that, including the practice of retroactively charging. That I didn't support this change last year in June of 2013. I thought it was sort of rushed to go through. Unfortunately, in my opinion, the other aldermen did support this. So we now have a new system that's in place. And one of the things that I found that I particularly take offense to, if you will, is that we are retroactively charging our consumers for water that we've used in the previous fiscal year at the new fiscal year's rates. So, for example, if you get a bill in July 15th for water that goes back to being used in April, May, June, and into July, you're getting billed in July for water that you used up through June 30th in the previous fiscal year, when the rates were actually lower. I had put forth an order to change this in 2008, I think, and maybe 2009. At the time, we looked at it for some time. We were able to find a way to make this work. It wasn't perfect. We were able to prorate the bills so that if you had so many days in the previous fiscal year, your water usage was divided in kind of into a per day amount. And then you were charged for the number of days in the previous fiscal year at the prior fiscal year's rates, and in the new fiscal year for the new fiscal year's rates. It's not exactly perfect because you didn't necessarily use all of those units of water exactly in one fiscal year or the other, but it was an improvement. One thing that we're doing in order to help resolve this, and the new system that's in place now brought back this practice of retroactively charging. So this is one of the reasons why I did not support that. And as this came back to us in this current year, it's in the same form. I've heard more questions and concerns, so I also didn't support it this year. But nonetheless, that is what is in place. And in order to help alleviate that, we have bonded for, and that's not the only reason, but we've bonded for new meters. So some of you may know, and you'll be hearing from DPW if you haven't already, that we're going to a new type of meter that's a radio read that will allow, right now there's one person in the whole city that's going out to check the meters. And everybody sort of build on a rolling cycle. The new system will allow for the whole city, they tell us, to be read within 4 hours. So hope that may be a little optimistic, but in 1 or 2 days we could read the whole city. And this would make this practice of retroactive billing hopefully a thing of the past. But in the meantime, I hear from people who are really struggling with their water and sewer bills. And I wanted to do something to help. And one of the things here is we're all part of the MWRA, which is the Massachusetts Water Resources Authority. And they are the wholesale provider of our water and sewer. And there's 61 communities that are part of the MWRA, and Melrose is one of them. And this map, you can see, includes all of the communities, and some of them are different colors. And in Melrose, we use both water and sewer from the MWRA. In some of our neighboring towns, they just use only sewer, or maybe they use only water, or only partial emergency water. For instance, you can't see the shading so well there, but some of them have enough water on their own, like Wakefield, that they don't need to use the MWRA unless there's an emergency. So some of those communities don't pay as much as we do. But still, this is a big share of our budget. In fact, you can see this is our FY15 water budget. And this big green piece of the pie is what we pay the MWRA. That's 45% of our water budget. The rest is pretty much things like salary. There is some debt there for improvements that we might make, new pipes and things like that. But most of it is salary, contractual. Indirect costs are things like health insurance and those kinds of costs related to the administration of payroll and those kinds of costs. So the largest chunk is really the MWRA portion. That's in water. So what we saw previously was just water. This is the City of Melrose breakdown for our sewer budget. In this one you can see it's even more. The green chunk, 74% of our city budget is what the City of Melrose has to pay the MWRA for the use of their services for sewer treatment. So obviously this stuff is important. We all want to be able to flush the toilet and not have to think about what happens after that. We want to be able to turn on our tap and get clean water. The MWRA provides, lots of services, including making sure that water is clean, making sure it's available to us, even if there's like a break, like there was in Weston about a year or so ago, or a couple years ago. And also, they have to worry about protecting us from terror threats, even if somebody tried to poison our water supply, would be in trouble. So what we pay the MWRA and how that's broken down. In water, for instance, they look at how much water we consume. They make their own budget at the MWRA, and then they look at how much water each individual community consumes in the previous calendar year. And they break that down so that of all the communities that use the MWRA for water services, the cost is split. So it behooves us to use less water, because if we use less water and we do other things like wash our infrastructure and maintain it and make sure we're not losing water through our pipes, then we can pay less than some other communities. So working together and conserving water at our household level and as a city will help Melrose pay less. But we need to make sure that we do it better than the other communities. Otherwise, we won't see so much of a benefit. And the same thing with sewer, because our usage is based on our flow. With sewer, MWRA looks at a more complicated formula and looks at the metered flow of sewer, which I really don't want to see what goes through there, how that averages out over the past 3 years for each community. And then we get charged our assessment, which we have to pay, and we have no choice. If we don't pay it, they'll take it right out of our budget. So for many reasons, for our own personal, what's going on in our own households, I wanted to come together and have this meeting and have a presentation to give you some hints and some tips about things that are available to you and ways that you can save some water and hopefully save some money in your household. But I wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of what was going on behind the scenes and what has been going on in the city. Next up, we have with us Siobhan Callahan. She is a water distribution professional, which we're very lucky to have here today, who has agreed to come down and volunteer her own time